all of you are already aware of the new immigration levels plan. There is nothing new about it anymore. There's no hidden surprises there anymore. For some of you, it's pretty exciting because you are all now looking forward to the TR to PR. Is it TR to PR or not? We will talk about that in a bit. But you're looking forward to that 33,000 spots to see if you are going to be one of them who will get through. Then some of you are already looking forward to the PNP blitz that's going to start with the onset of the new year. Some of you are still hoping and praying that your categories will still be included in the next year's levels plan. And then there are others who, forever hopeful, are probably fooling themselves into believing that someday express entry scores are going to drop to 460, 470, 480. I don't know which bucket do you fall into, but if you are still watching today's live stream or this video at a later date, then you still are in that hoopla of Canadian immigration. You're still thinking it's going to work for you. You're still thinking something is out there. So you are one of those optimistic, hopeful individuals who I love, right? Because just like me, you always see the brighter side. You always see the positive side. Sometimes, as they say, right, the skies can be cloudy. They can be a bit, grim, but eventually the sun shines through, and then that's what we are all looking forward to. This week, as we will go into the next one, is basically the draw week. This is your draw cycle, and this is where you want the excitement to happen. Of course, as we move into Sunday and then Monday, of course, that's when your PNP draw should happen. And should a PNP draw happen, then Tuesday, Wednesday become very, very exciting. We do not know what to anticipate. Will there be another 1,000 ITA kind of a draw? Will there be a category draw? Will IRCC play another googly and send us another French category draw? A lot of you out there are still hopeful for a healthcare category draw. I am not that hopeful for a healthcare because I think they've already invited about 10,000 people. So I don't anticipate a health category coming through there. But as far as education category is concerned, again, same thing there, not much. At least I don't expect to see much there. STEM is something which is not happening. And agriculture, we haven't even heard about agriculture. Yes, somebody just very rightly pointed out, Tuesday is a day off for government employees for the Remembrance Day. So no draw on that day. You never know. You just don't know. So let's see how that way goes. But anyways, right? If there is a draw on a Tuesday, it could probably be an CEC. If there was to be it probably would have been a CEC with 1,000. So as of right now, I think most of us would like to see a good quality draw, a healthy category, a healthy express entry draw with a good meaty invitations thrown in there of, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. And the reason why I believe there should be one, and I'm hoping for one, is because we all know now that all the ITAs that are being issued are all for the 2026 category, 2026 quotas. 2026 quotas have already been released. There is no more surprises for IRCC. Even the officers who are conducting the draws, even they know what is going to happen as far as the categories, as far as the quotas are concerned. So they don't have to play this small draw game anymore. If all the ITAs that are now going to be issued are for 2026, then for God's sake, just issue a proper draw. Let everybody have some space around them, right? Let them breathe a sigh of relief and say, okay, thank you for doing what you're doing. But who am I to say it, right? I can only give you all these kind of faltu gyan, basically, and then speculate about things. I live sometimes in fool's paradise. I do not know how many of you out there also. And I always have a feeling that, okay, there could be another good sized draw around the corner. There should be, there must be, there would be. And not because I am an immigration consultant and because this has business to do with it. Trust me, business is the least of my concerns. Thankfully, touch wood, God has been very kind, and so have you. So business is not an issue, because some people think it's only express entry that I rely on. I don't. It's not even the international students that I rely on. I, by God's grace, have got very good stream of healthy corporate clients who we have been in association for quite a few years now. We handle their entire corporate structure in terms of all their immigration aspects within the Canadian market. So while these things of course impact us, I'm not saying that we are completely impact free or we are completely not hurt by any such downs or highs or whatever, but it doesn't really create a big dent in the big scheme of things. So thank you for everybody who looks out for my business, who keeps saying that I lose out my business or whatever. But no, thank you so much. I appreciate your concern. But at the end of the day, for everybody out there, when I do these live streams, I'm not doing it for my corporate clients. They've got no interest in what I'm saying right now. This is for you and I. I don't forget my roots. I developed my roots, my business from the community. Facebook community, I'm not sure how many of you are part of. Oh boy. I'm not sure how many of you are part of my Facebook community, but if you are, then you would know that we have been as part of the Facebook groups for a very, very, very long time. Sorry, sorting out my mic, right, just fell off. And if I know my roots well, I know what the community is all about. So if I talk about all these things, or if I share all this is just for you. If I know of something, I'll be the first person to make a video and tell you all about it. If I know of a loophole, I'll be the first person and come and tell you. If I know of a scam, I'll be the first person who will come and make a video and say, listen, don't do it. You'll get into trouble. You'll get skewed or the bats will fly, kind of a thing. So therefore, as far as I'm concerned, this is purely, as far as my live streams are concerned, this is purely so that I can share whatever I know with you. Today, we're talking about the immigration levels plan. Of course, we've already spoken about it throughout this whole week. We've done a couple of live streams, we've done a couple of videos, we've already spoken about it. The extent to which people have been creating these TikTok reels and Instagram reels and videos about TR to PR, oh my God. And kudos to you people who have given them millions of views. I mean, like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you see through complete BS? Or should it be cows? Or should it be BS or whatever? Why can't you see through that? You guys go on to share those reels. You go on to comment on those reels. You comment all kind of rubbish that these people ask you to, simply because you want to believe in TR to PR. I mean, I know all of us want to believe in TR to PR, just the way we believe in pixie dust and we believe in unicorns and we believe in fairies. We believe in Santa Claus. Hey, Santa Claus is coming to town, so don't forget about that one. But TR to PR, the way you know of TR to PR in 2021, or you have faint memories of it, it was a disaster of a program. I hope it never gets repeated. I know some of you are going to hate me for saying that, but I really, really mean it. It literally completely ruined Canadian immigration for everybody. Of course, other than those 90,000 people who got handed, like IRCC was distributing, like Santa Claus was giving out gifts on Christmas, right? They got handed out with their PR for absolutely no real human capital priority there. But they did, and they got lucky. So kudos to them for being at the right place at the right time. This is what life is all about, being at the right place at the right time. And then came that 75 CRS draw, right? Brilliant, you would say, in a lot of ways. And at that point of time, trust me, even I was very happy. Like 27,000 ITs, what is wrong with the IRCC? It's like they give it. Today, when we look back at those things, they were some of the worst decisions possible ever made in terms of the Canadian immigration and the recent history that you can look at. But now this new TR to PR that is being touted, first of all, please bear in mind that IRCC has just given us 4 sentences on it. And in that 4 sentences, they have been very clear that this will be a one-time initiative spread over 2 years. Means even if they select the people this year, not everybody will get processed this year. They probably will split it half and half. Or they might invite a batch this year and then invite a batch next year. So that is the first thing. Second thing it indicates over there is this is for people who are in Canada, means you cannot be outside Canada. So you have to be in Canada. You have to be on a valid work permit. You cannot be on restaurant. At least that's what I'm thinking. You can't be on a visitor record and say, well, I had a work permit, so you should give it to me. Probably not going to work. And you should be in an in-demand sector or occupation. We don't know what those in-demand occupations are. And finally, the criteria or the entire focus is on rural communities. And they're also talking about people who have paid their taxes and have formed a bond with their communities. There is a lot to read and unpack in that TR to PR. It's not a free for all, open for all kind of a game. So please, before you put all your eggs in that TR to PR basket, don't let go of your strategy. Don't let go of your immigration plans. You please continue with it. Please continue to strategize. Please continue to follow through what you would have normally done if there was no TR to PR, right? If the TR to PR happens, whenever it happens, we don't even know when it's going to happen. For all you know, they might not do it at all. But whenever this TR to PR happens, and if you get invited, well, consider yourself very lucky. Drop me a message. You and I, we will partner, and together we'll buy a lotto ticket, because that would be awesome. And I can buy 33,000 lotto tickets if all of you can. And then at least one of them will strike, right? Because you guys got lucky. Maybe with you, I'll also get lucky. But anyway, so the point is, don't fall into the TR to PR bandwagon at this point of time. It won't help your cause. In the big scheme of things, please continue with your pathways. And I know it is a good thing that they will have this initiative of 33,000 people. So at least so many hardworking, skilled workers who are currently in Canada, probably doing some really, really good job, will have an opportunity. They have been here in Canada. They have been slogging their backsides off. They have been working hard. They are in a priority occupation. They're just not being considered, probably because of low skill factors or the high age or whatever that might be. So they will have a chance, and that's a good thing. We will celebrate it when it happens. But until then, please continue with your plan, continue with your pathway. That's the first thing. Second thing, PNPs are back, baby. I've been telling you, you've been watching my live streams, and then you already know that we've been talking about the PNPs making a comeback. This is a 66% boost. Now, I've told you before that, before I get onto that, no, we'll talk about Lena Diab later on, but I've told you that Mark Carney, and I'm saying Mark Carney for a reason. He is a prime minister. He's not the immigration minister, but he is pretty much immigration minister and other finance minister and housing minister and everything else as well, because he's the prime minister. Also, because Lena Diab, we don't even know where she is, what she's doing. She didn't even do a press conference when she announced the immigration levels plan. She was hiding behind closed doors. She didn't take comments. We didn't even have a live stream link for, and therefore I miss Mark Miller. You know, the reason why Mark Miller was so important in this whole scheme of things is because at least he would come out and he would be vocal. He would talk. He would say the way things are, or he wouldn't mince his words. With Lena Diab, we don't even know what to expect. We don't even know what's happening. This lack of transparency makes us very anxious. But coming back to it, Mark Carney wants to play chummy, buddy with the provincial governments. He wants to keep them in the tow, and therefore he's from the time he became the prime minister, he has already been, been extending help, or he's been extending a good hand towards them, and therefore, very conveniently, 27,000 slots from the CEC in Canada focus were picked up and given to the PNPs. You all know we've talked about that, right? And from the very beginning, when this year's immigration levels plans were announced last year on the 24th of October, I told you the 55,000 spots that are now being allocated to PNPs, they have to be taken from somewhere. And now when IRCC is going to reset, which they have now, and they've increased the PNP spots by 66% boost, that is the boost that it got, then it has to come from somewhere. Portion of it has come from express entry, which is federal high skilled. Portion of it has come from some other categories as well, including refugees and protected person, from the family class, from the HNC class, etc., etc. So they've done a mix and match of all of this, and they've done this complete mashup, and then they've given us a total of 380,000 with 91,000 PNPs. What that is going to do for everybody. You know, so many of you who have been waiting with your breath held back or held up with OINP, you guys might just be able to see the light of the day. Now, when I'm saying just be able to, because I do not know how this is going to roll out, Ontario has been acting very, very fudgy with their new regulation that has been announced and is now in effect and is in force, which says that they can now cancel any applications on which they haven't made a decision, even if they were submitted a year back, they don't care. If that occupation under which you got invited, if those occupations are no longer a priority, then they can tell you to go home, right? We don't want you. That's what Ontario has said that they can do. With this being said, their quotas are going to get increased significantly. This year's quota was about 10,200 or 10,300 kind of a number. 2026, their quotas are going to go up. I'm assuming it will fall in the ballpark of about 18,000. Won't go back to 21,000 because the immigration levels planned say only 91,000. Previously, it was 105, 110,000. So it won't go up to the original number that we have seen in 2024. So it's going to stay in that 18,000, 17, 18,000 kind of a number. That is still a significant boost. For Ontario itself, it's an 80% increase. Now, if you will have that kind of an increase, it is, at least I would like to see Ontario conducting draws in master's graduate stream, PhD stream, skilled trade stream, and as you all love, the human capital priority stream. As a matter of fact, human capital priorities stream is the only stream, only PNP stream, true PNP stream, which doesn't care about you having a job offer or not. Yes, there are a couple of other streams as well, but they are not as free as OINP's human capital priorities is. It will include people inside Canada, outside Canada, FSW, CECs, doesn't care, it doesn't matter. It's really a free stream for everyone. And I would definitely like to see them making a comeback. They probably are going to have their pick of the lot, and they will obviously identify which knock codes they are most interested in. So we'll have to wait and see how that one rolls out. But I'm very excited, looking forward to Ontario, the way they play it out. I'm hoping that at least they also give relief to all those people who have been waiting from March, April of 2024. People have really been desperately waiting. People have been holding on to their statuses. They have gone back to studying and paying thousands of dollars just to maintain their status in Canada. People have been buying LMIAs just to keep their status in the country. They have been sitting here on dummy extensions or on visitor records, just waiting for Ontario to to basically give out the nomination. So just hoping that Ontario will release some of that out so that people can have a bit of a breather here as well. 109,000 people, that is the quota for federal high skill for this year. When I'm saying this year, now guys, you should know when I'm saying this year, I mean 2026 already. When I'm saying last year, basically I'm talking about 2025. Those are the things that you should be aware of, because we are already now living in 2026. So this year's quota for 2026 for CECs, for all kind of express entry draws will be 109,000 people, not ITAs, people. Lot of people, including consultants, including lawyers, still to date don't understand that the quotas that are released are not ITAs, they are people. One ITA could be multiple people. I've told you this many times, and all ITAs that are issued are not successful. A lot of people, even till date, decline their ITAs. You guys shouldn't decline your ITAs, but you do it because you don't care. But you do decline ITAs, and for silly reasons. Don't do that. It's hurtful. So people decline ITAs, people's application gets rejected at R10 stage, means they're not considered as complete applications, and people's application also gets refused. Now the refusal rates are also quite high. With that in mind, they obviously will issue more ITAs so that they can meet the number of people that they are looking to get, and therefore the number of and of course, as I said, one ITA could be multiple people. So you are expecting in the range of 70 to 80,000 ITAs to be issued to meet a target of 109,000 people, considering there will be a percentage of ITAs which will be declined, cancelled, rejected, and then some of the successful ITAs could be multiple people. With this in mind, you are expecting 75 to 80,000 ITAs to be issued next year in express entry. Now, this is outside PNP. This is not including PNP. This is outside PNP. Now, how many of them will be CEC and how many of them will be category? I don't know. And this information we will only come to know probably by early next year, when we have been able to get our hands on to some ATIP notes to get this bifurcation of what they will be announcing. This year, very cutely, and I'm saying cutely with a pinch of salt, because I think optics also matter a lot to IRCC. So very nicely what they have done is that they have, and I'll show it to you, that they have very cutely only shown federal high skill 109,000 people. Last year, or 2025, last year, they had bifurcated into categories, or in Canada focus, which was CEC, 82,000 people. And then you had federal economic priorities, which was roughly 42,000 people, which was your categories, right? Your express entry categories. This year, they didn't want it to sort of, because, we get all our knickers in a twist. We get all hyped up and say, why you're inviting more Francophone? Why you're inviting more this one? Why are you not inviting CEC? So to avoid all that, they said, okay, let's put them in one group, and then we can choose who we want to invite. We want to invite more French, we will invite. We want to invite more healthcare, we'll invite. Nobody can ask us, because it's all one big group. And everybody is now part of 109,000 people. And this 109,000 people, which will go on to increase to 111 next year. But for this 109,000 people, how many are going to be CECs? You don't know. Nobody knows. But the fact is, they will continue to invite a lot of Francophones, which is bound to happen. And with so many Francophones being invited, IRCC will also continue to invite several categories. Categories, nobody knows what those categories are going to be. Nobody knows how many education categories quotas will be. Nobody knows healthcare. Nobody knows STEM. Nobody knows scientific researchers. Nobody knows research associates and scientists. Nobody knows about senior managers. Nobody knows about agriculture. Okay, what I'm trying to say is nobody knows about any of this. Everybody is speculating. I am speculating. So are you. Everybody's playing a guessing game. It's just that we want to sort of have a better handle on things, and that information will come out clearly only next year. Not now. Not anybody saying it. Nobody making videos and reels and all that. But only next year. IRCC will first come out by telling us what are the categories, if there are any changes. So if there are any changes in the categories, they probably are going to remove some knock codes in some categories. They might add some categories as well. You already know, for example, the year before, they had IT tech knock codes under STEM. And then they came out, they removed the IT tech knock codes, instead added insurance advisors and agents along with the engineering knock codes, and called it STEM version 2. Similarly with healthcare, they removed some knock code, they added some knock codes, and it is very highly likely that there will be a change in those categories as well. Then they came up with a new category by itself, which was education category. And then this information was available to us through the stakeholder meeting. Now, this year's stakeholder meeting, when I'm saying this year's stakeholder meetings, have indicated IRCC looking at a priority of bringing in research scientists or research associates and scientists and senior managers as a category. Now, this is what the stakeholder meeting said. It's a very high possibility that these two categories get included next year. I hope they are separate categories so that they don't take somebody else's share of ideas at all. And don't expect too many invitations in these categories, because there can't be that many numbers, number one. And it's not like they will go all out and bring in 10,000 each. So expect small numbers. This year, they haven't conducted any draws in STEM categories. So if they haven't conducted, I would assume they will carry it forward to the next year, because it basically achieved no objective at all. Mind you, STEM category this year largely has engineers, okay, or technicians, engineering technicians, which, to be very honest, Canada actually needs. So it continues to fulfill a labor market priority or a shortage. So I have a feeling STEM will continue the way it is, but there could be some changes in the knock code. They might choose to remove some knock codes. You know which ones I'm talking about. Same thing with trades category. Now, trades category, we've already seen the ATIP notes where it has said that they are quite concerned with the addition of cooks. Now, when I see these ATIP notes and I see these exchanges of emails, and I'm like thinking, don't you guys talk to each other when you decide these categories? I mean, were you not part of that meeting? Didn't you get the memo when they were saying that we were going to include the cooks? What were you thinking then? Now that you are raising a concern, but apparently now they're raising a concern that they're getting too many cooks. They don't want that many cooks, and therefore they should have instead been getting more carpenters, technicians, plumbers, etc., welders, etc., which they're not getting. So there's a lot of discussion about removing cooks from the trade category, which is a high possibility. Similarly, in healthcare category, there is a lot of talk now. It's a rumor. It hasn't been confirmed. It hasn't been said. Nobody has said it, but there is a very intense spotlight on categories such as pharmacy assistants and lab technicians. There's a lot of spotlight. Now, will they cut? Because these are the most easiest ones that people are creating fake work experiences in. the cooks, the pharmacy assistants. I mean, look at Canada. How many courses Canada is now? Diploma mills, all these small time colleges across Brampton, across Surrey, across this one bedroom apartment size colleges that they're offering all these courses, right? You know about them. I'm sure most of you, a lot of you are actually enrolled in these courses as well. And you're paying thousands of dollars for these courses, and they're all trying to sell you the PSW course, early child educator course, pharmacy assistant course, and lab assistant course, and all these. So there is a high chance that some of these occupations, I do not know which ones, some of these occupations are changed. So therefore, early next year, we have a better idea of which categories will go through. As of right now, there's no point of speculating on it while we are speculating on it. But yeah, there is nothing to say with any certainty. Certainty. But you know what? Let's move on with our weekly roundup. We'll come back to the questions in a bit, starting with weekly roundup. Okay, so this week, obviously, there were no express entry draws. There were no PNP draws because everybody was just holding their breath, waiting for the budget to be announced. So basically, all we have is other news. Northwest Territory Nominee Program third 2025 intake will start from the 10th of November until 24th of November. Employers can now submit unlimited applications. So if you are one of those people who really slogged it out, who really had their patience, held their nerve, are in Northwest Territories in that very, very cold province of Canada, well, you guys are in luck because now employers can submit unlimited applications. Work permit expiration limits have also been removed, and this is really going to give you advantage. But the only thing is that the work experience rule has been reinstated, which basically says that you should have 1 year of work experience in a similar occupation. But overall, excellent opportunity for those of you who are already there roughing it out. This should be your ticket way through. Now, this shouldn't come as a surprise to most of you, but you already are aware that Indian students form the majority in Canada, of course. And as of today, the highest number of refusals also come for the Indian students. 74%, that is the number, 74% of the Indian study permit applications were refused in August 2025 compared to 32% in August 2023. That is almost 150% jump in the refusal rates. Can you believe it? But you know why? Even in 2023, Canada uncovered 1,500 fraudulent letters of acceptance from India alone. Okay. And the new verification system has flagged 14,000 fake documents globally, not only in India. Indians are not the only ones who are doing bad things. Okay. There are a lot of other people. And look at it, compared to 1550 in India, there is another 12,500 outside Canada who are doing all kinds of nefarious activity, outside India who are doing nefarious activities. I know India gets the big part of the blame, and that is largely because of the number of people or the number of applicants who come from India. So unfortunately, the law of averages in this case or ratios work against them, and they get a very bad name. But people elsewhere, are involved into all kind of activities as well. Regardless, because Indians form the largest contingent of international students in Canada, therefore, these draw always the largest headlines. Moving forward, if you are a doctoral student in Canada, your applications will be processed much faster. There is no requirement for a PALTAL. You already know, provincial attestation letter, territorial attestation letter. You will get a priority processing. Your spouses can apply together, spouses and children. And of course, you should be applying from outside Canada. You should be admitted into a doctoral program, and they can be processed in as less as 2 weeks, which is excellent news. Let's very quickly talk about the immigration levels plan as well. First one is that Canada has decided to cut the temporary resident admissions into Canada. Now, from 673,000 quota of temporary residents in 2025, we are now dropping down to 385,000 in 2026. That's a 43% cut in the total temporary resident admissions. Now, why is this important? First of all, International students, they were supposed to bring in 305,000 this year. International students, they have been cut by 50% to only 155,000. That's a big, big cut, because all these colleges that have been surviving, the Senecas, the Lambtons, the Centennials, I mean, name some colleges, man. All these have been surviving on international, the GBUs, I'm forgetting some very other, Algomas, oh boy, I know them. Yeah, plenty of them. But all of them have been surviving because of international students. They are all going to get hit really, really, really bad with this cut. Only 155,000 international students basically is not a lot. And majority of them will now be preferred who are going to go into the public universities rather than these diploma mill colleges. So be very careful where you choose to apply, number one. Number two, you must understand that the refusal rates have gone through the roof. And your applications, if you are submitting for study permit, they have to be really like picture perfect. I mean, your SOPs, your past education records, the university that you are applying to, they will all make a big, big, big difference in your application. And therefore, be very careful who you apply to, what kind of program. If you're going to be applying for that global business management kind of courses, pretty much you're not getting through. So be very careful what you apply for. It has to be linked to your previous education, previous work experience. It should make sense. 155,000 is not a very big number. So therefore, it's not going to be a lost. It's not going to be a lot of people who will get through. So be very careful with that. Having said that, because this huge number of international students dropping means a lot of international students who are coming out of this year, they will be applying for postgraduate work permit. Those numbers are also less. Already what IRCC has been doing is, by now you know postgraduate work permits, you need to provide an English language test result depending on your education. So if you're master's, you have to give CLB 7. If you are a diploma, then you have to give a diploma from diploma college. You have to have CLB 5. If you don't have this, then your application is refused. The problem is IRCC is refusing these applications months later. And that months later basically means the 6 months have already passed, 180 days have already passed since you completed your education, means you are no longer eligible for a postgraduate work permit. Now you are tough out of luck. Technically, by law, there is no requirement for IRCC. There is no obligation on IRCC to accept your application. Yet you will submit, but now you are in that area where the discretion of the officer applies. Good mood, he will approve or she will approve. Bad mood, forget about your application. So now you're already on that borderline of so many international students who are now bearing the brunt of this requirement. So please be very careful, because they now already have a reduced quota for the applications, even for work permits. So if they have a reduced quota for work permits, they're going to be more stringent. If you don't provide proper documentation for postgraduate work permits, you might be on the losing side of things. Spouse open work permits, same thing. They have become much, much, much more stricter. Even if you are eligible for a spouse open work permit, even then, the way IRCC is processing them is really, really ridiculous, because even you provide all kinds of documentation, in spite of that, the applications get refused, saying that strong ties to Canada and you will not return back. Like, duh, strong ties to Canada. Of course, the husband or the spouse is in Canada. That is the reason you're applying for spouse work permit. I mean, what do you mean by strong ties to Canada? I mean, sometimes this just blows apart when you see these kind of refusals. But they do their job, we do our job. And as far as you're concerned, you do your jobs by preparing a good application, making sure that you provide complete financial proof. Even if you're inside Canada, there is no requirement for financial proof for a spouse open work permit, but please do provide financial proof. Show that you have the enough funds to meet for a family of two. Show the LICO, depending on your family size. Provide good, decent set of documents to prove your relationship. Provide your spouse's education documents. If your spouse is studying master's degree, definitely provide your spouse's admission letter, acceptance letter, fee receipt, recent transcripts if there has been an examination, a letter of good standing from the university. These are mandatory documents. People just forget. People don't provide. And then they're like, why did I get a refusal? Because you did not provide the complete set of documents. If your spouse is already working in tier category 0 or 1, then you are eligible for spouse open work permit. If the principal spouse's work permit is valid for at least 16 months, or if your spouse is working in tier category 2 or 3 under specific priority occupations, provide the employment letter of your spouse with all the roles and responsibilities and at least 2 to 3 to 4 pay stubs. Otherwise, if you get a refusal, then don't blame IRCC, because you are the one who didn't provide complete documentation. So make sure you provide a good set of documents, and then hope and pray everything rolls in your favor. So beware of the cuts that have come now for temporary residents. This will only make it more difficult for people who tend to take their applications lightly. All the information is available. You don't need a consultant. Please, by all means, this is not me trying to tell you to come don't take my services for sure. Don't take anybody's services for sure, but please check IRCC website. All the information is there. Can't blame anybody if you're not following the documents. Okay. And the worst of this whole lot, which category gets hit, and that is the visit visa applications. Visit visa application refusals are now averaging 80%, especially from India. So if you think you have provided everything in your application, in spite of that, your application is getting refused, it's not you, it's them. They have decided they don't want to give it. You have crores and crores of finances that you are showing. You could be multi-millionaire for all they care. They don't want to give. They have decided they will not give. You can provide them assets, you can provide them finances, you can provide them travel history, you can provide them, even if you've come to Canada before and gone back, they will still refuse your application because they have been told that their quotas. Now, this number that I'm showing you, 385,000 for 2026, this does not include visit visa holders. This is just your students and workers. Okay. Visit visa holders, there is no specific quota for them, but they have been told to reduce those numbers as well. On an average, IRCC processes 1.5 million visit visa applications per year. Okay. Of course, as you can imagine, not everybody gets approved. And currently, as I said, 81% is the refusal rate for visit visas from India. So from your side, do a good job of preparing your application. And God forbid, if it still gets refused, then the option is judicial review. And I have to just tell you that judicial reviews also are taking forever. As of right now, it's taking about 12 to 14 months, and your application doesn't get approved. It gets sent for redetermination to a different officer who can then again, of course, choose to refuse your application. Then you're back to square one. But this is the reality. You should be aware. You should know when you're making your application so that you can do it in a proper manner. Temporary resident targets as they look right now, overall for 2026, it's 385,000 workers, as in people who will get work permits on postgraduate work permits, closed work permits, LMIA exempt work permits, all kinds of work permits, total of 230,000. Out of 230,000, they will be approving only 60,000 LMIA work permits. That is under a temporary foreign workers program. LMIA or LMIA exempt, doesn't matter, but these are all temporary foreign workers. Then you have the international mobility program. Under international mobility program comes your postgraduate work permit, spouse open work permit. For this year, their quota is only 170,000. That's not a very big number, mind you. And always at the beginning of the year, their quotas are fresh. The chances of approval always remain high. So if you are submitting your application, please be in a rush and submit your application sooner than towards the mid or end of the year, when the quotas start getting exhausted and they're becoming more and more stricter with the process. Then comes the PR targets. By now, you already know. For 2026, the total number of economic immigration target numbers are 239,800, of which 91,500 are PNPs, which is like, yay, PNPs, good job. Atlantic immigration has been reduced to 4,000 quotas, which basically means the processing times are going to get longer. They're already at 32, 33 months, expected to go longer. But even if you are getting longer processing, mind you, AIP, if you're under Atlantic immigration program, you can apply for work permits. RCIP, you can apply for work permits. So that is towards, advantage for you. Federal business has been reduced to 500, which basically means this is pretty much the death of startup visa applications. 500 for federal business this year, next year, and the year after, pretty much the end game, at least the way I look at it. And for all you know, there are like 60,000 applications in process for startup visa. Can you imagine what is going to happen? Already IRCC is saying it will take 35 years for processing of startup visa. So in most cases, a lot of these applications may get cancelled once they implement the C12. Uh, some bloke, sorry to hear that, you should go back home, unfortunately. Yeah, okay, buddy, you go home first now. But I mean, why are you worried? People understand what they need to do. I mean, just by your saying go home, I mean, you think that makes any difference? Do you feel good about that? Do you feel nice when you come out and say that? And if it does, well, by all means, my feed is open for you. Keep repeating it, because it doesn't make a squat of a difference to anybody when you say things like this. On the contrary, you're only excluding bad vibes from yourself. Just stop doing that. People are smart, people are aware, they are in Canada legally, they know what they're doing, they know why they're doing it. By your saying things like this, it's not going to make a squat of a difference to anybody. So save it. Moving on. What else have we got here? Family immigration category breakdown. Now this one will make it even more difficult for some people. And who will it make it more difficult for? Spouses, partners, and children. That number has now dropped to 69,000. Again, if you're a permanent resident, if you're a citizen in Canada and you are looking to sponsor your spouse, please do it sooner in the year than later in the year. Again, the quotas matter. And because of the reduction in numbers, it basically means that the processing times will get longer. That's obvious, right? When the quotas are not there, they can't really process and complete the application. So try and submit the application sooner than later. Grandparents and parents, this year the number has been reduced a lot to only 15,000, which basically means I do not know whether this year we are going to see a new intake pool open or not. I really do hope, because they're still counting on the 2020 pool, but you never know. They might just play another game of that sort. Protected persons in Canada and dependents abroad is now at 20,000. Refugees at 13,250. Actually, combination of that. So you will see about 30,000 refugees, and total refugees and protected persons at 49,300 for this year. Humanitarian and compassionate has dropped to only 1,100 because they have taken out the main quota of humanitarian and compassionate and given it to Ukraine, Sudan, and Hong Kong responses from IRCC. French-speaking admissions outside Quebec, on the other hand, in other news, continue to increase. This year, though the number is slightly smaller than what it was anticipated to be, it was supposed to be about 31,000 something, they have brought it down from 9.5% to 9%, and now you will have 30,267 people who will be coming to Canada under the Francophone immigration program outside Quebec. The irony of this is that most people who come to Canada under the French immigration programs, they actually go back to Quebec anyways. So I'm not sure what kind of target do these programs achieve, but that's what we have. This is where it gets interesting. One-time immigration recalibration initiatives. Now, this is where it happened. IRCC is offering one-time initiative to regularize, or rather to offer an accelerated pathway to become permanent resident for 115,000 protected persons. Now, these are not new people. These are not new people who will be coming to Canada. They are already inside Canada. In most cases, their refugee claims or asylum claims have already been approved. But from there on, their journey to become a permanent resident is taking 4, 5, 6 years in some cases. So they have identified that as a person who needs protection in Canada, who has filed and who has been approved for a refugee claim, they do need to be looked after, in the sense like you cannot put them through the torture of continuing to be in Canada while no status in Canada at all. So therefore, they will be accelerating that. And over the span of 26 and 27, they will be offering permanent residence to 115,000 people over a span of 2 years. I think it's a good move. I don't see anything wrong with it, because they've already approved these individuals as permanent residents. These are not new people who will be becoming permanent residents. They're already approved as refugee claimants. So nothing wrong there. And then the other one is 33,000 one-time initiative. This is 33,000 people will be made permanent residents. So this is accelerating permanent residence for skilled workers. Select is the word. If you see the first line, one-time 2-year initiative to fast track permanent residence for skilled temporary workers who are already contributing to communities and working in Canada in specific in demand sectors with a focus on those in rural areas. Do you see how many criterias are already mentioned in it? And if you are still going to think that this is going to be an open, free for all TR to PR program, then you couldn't be more mistaken. Okay. It's a one time program. It will be spread over 2 years. It is for select skilled workers, okay, who are already contributing to Canada, means you're already in Canada, already working in Canada, okay, and who are already contributing to communities and working in Canada in specific in demand sectors, which we don't know what they are, with a focus on those in rural areas. So you see, if you start thinking that no matter where you are, you will also get through, you might not, unless you are making a beeline to any of the rural areas. And the way I would define rural areas, they probably are going to give advantage to those 13, 14 communities which are part of RCIP. I'm thinking. Otherwise, they would have to go through another stringent condition requirement to identify which other communities could be eligible, which they can't. So I think they're pretty much going to stick around with the RCIP. At least that's what my guess would be. And again, in demand occupations predominantly will have to be around construction, trades, healthcare. Predominantly. There could be some engineering knock codes there as well, but I'm thinking predominantly it will be these occupations. So if you're one of them, just make sure you continue to work in Canada, make sure you continue to be on a valid status in Canada, and you might just get lucky with this one. They prioritizing highly skilled workers in key sectors in Canada like emerging technologies, healthcare, skilled trades. Now, these are the only three categories that have been mentioned. That doesn't mean that other categories couldn't be there. Emerging technologies will remain a big speculation. We don't know what those might be. But this is the three categories or three key sectors they have identified. Healthcare is there, skilled trade is there. That is not going anywhere. But look at it. This year, skilled trades, they only invited 1250 people. What's the point of them including skilled trades as priority but not conducting draws? So it becomes very contradictory when you see this information and then they don't really go along with it during the process. But emerging technologies, I'm not sure which direction that's going to go into, but I would still think there could be scientists, researchers, and senior managers also included as new categories. That is something which I have quite a bit of a inclination towards. This is another one which is very interesting. Canada will launch an accelerated immigration pathway for H-1B visa holders. Now, this was actually hidden in the budget from IRCC. Very just two sentences there at the bottom somewhere. And very strange because, again, I am very contentious with this particular matter. And the reason for that is they did conduct H-1B draw, or rather they invited 10,000 H-1B workers in Canada a couple of years back. I'm sure you already know about that. Not everybody came to Canada. They got their applications approved, but so many of them didn't even bother to come to Canada. It is understood by some of the data that is available that less than 25% actually came to Canada and started working. So what was exactly the whole hullabaloo about? Number one. Number two, if you really want skilled professionals, then don't you think you have enough skilled professionals inside Canada currently struggling? LMIA work permit holders, knock categories, zeros and triple zeros, LMIA work permit holders, LMIA exempt work permit holders, the C20s, the C12s, the C10s, there's so many of them there, ICTs. Then you have highly skilled qualified physicians. They might be self-employed, but they're there. There are so many people who are working in Canada on CUSMA, the Canada, US, Mexico, North American Free Trade Agreement Treaty. You already have these individuals in Canada. You have so many Canadian experience class people who are desperate but you're not giving them any options. But instead, you would rather, for the optics, that you are taking advantage of the H1B for people who are not even interested in coming to Canada, mind you. Because H1Bs, if they really wanted to come to Canada, they would have already started or charting out their journey long back. The only reason why anybody who's in the US would want to come to Canada is because he has no other choice or she has no other choice. They'll be coming to Canada, spending here 2 or 3 years, getting their Canadian passport and taking a TN visa and going back to the US. Canada doesn't interest them. They are not interested in Canada. US is where they want to be. And I don't blame them. The salary difference is approximately 40-46%. The US, what US can buy you in terms of the US dollar can buy you versus the cost comparison to what Canadian dollar can buy you, huge difference. What US offers in terms of the stocks, the stock options, the stock bond options, the salaries, what they're offering versus what Canada offers, there is no comparison. So I don't see how you really can attract people who really want to be in Canada. You're just simply bringing people over here who will just pretty much jump off your back and then go back to the US. So I have my reservations as far as this program is concerned. But anyways, for anybody who's in the US and we are listening, well, yay, you guys will have a pathway, an accelerated pathway that Canada will introduce, and you would then be able to come to Canada. And one more small thing which I didn't tell you is on this one. You remember this 115,000 people who they will be giving PR to and 33,000 who will be transitioned from skilled workers to PR? Do you know that these numbers have not been added to the total PR numbers? So the total PR numbers for Canada for this year is 380,000. 380,000 is also the number for next year. So 2 years, you have roughly about 760,000 plus 115,000 plus 33,000. So in a span of 2 years, Canada is going to invite 900,000 people, which is much more than 380 that they're promoting. I do not know why they did not include these numbers in the total PR pathway, PR targets at all. Why wouldn't you? I mean, you are making this as a one-time thing. Fair enough, you're making it as a one-time thing. Show it in the immigration levels plan so everybody has a clear optics on this. But no, you would rather show immigration levels plan at 380, tell everybody we are reducing the PR numbers, but hey, we have this 115,000 which we will get PR, we'll be giving PR to, and then there is this another 33,000 we'll be giving PR to, and then there is this undisclosed number of H1B, undisclosed, that numbers are not there, that numbers are not there in the TR numbers or in the PR numbers. No temporary resident has that specific quotas for them or PR has a quota for them, but hey, you know what, we will be getting these H1B workers, highly skilled workers who will come to Canada, and then they will help contribute to the economy of our country, and we should celebrate that. But those numbers are not disclosed. Lousy job at mimicking, but anyways. There is one more thing. Sorry. Canada is going to spend $1.7 billion in different funds and going to recruit 1,000 international researchers, scientific researchers. That is also part of the plan. Though it is not talking about giving them PR, it just says they will be recruiting 100,000 international researchers. So if you're a researcher, scientific researcher, there could be a possibility that you could be invited. So please keep an eye out on this as well. This is very, very interesting. Quebec has lowered its immigration targets from 2025 to 2029. They are saying it was supposed to be 61,000, but we don't want so many people. We will reduce it to 45,000. Why? Because too many people is not needed by our great province of Quebec. And we will also permanently close 2 pathways that we had, which is called PEQ. I think it's called Experience Quebec. I forget I can't pronounce for the life of me. And people who will come to Quebec, 80% of the newcomers have to have intermediate French because they're already instilling the requirement of CLB 7 in French. And we will cut the number of foreign workers and international students by 13%, right? That is what they have said. This news became public 2-3 days back, and it was big because Quebec is reducing their numbers as well. And then you know what happened? Then came this news article. I think it came 2 days back on the 6th of November. And in this, Quebec is saying Ottawa is creating an emergency by cutting the temporary immigration numbers. And then it says which is so surprising. Where is it? Hold on. It says that Quebec business owners and industry groups have sounded alarm about the new federal limits on the temporary foreign workers, warning that they will have catastrophic consequences. And this is the crisis in Quebec's region. So they can't even make up their mind. Here they are saying they have concerns that they will not be getting a lot of temporary foreign workers and the businesses will close down. So they can't make up their mind. This is the most recent article that they themselves are putting up and saying, you know what, because the government is going to restrict the number of temporary foreign workers, we will not have enough temporary foreign workers, our businesses are going to close down. But they are the ones who are saying we don't want enough people. So they can't make up their minds. I'm not sure which way they're going to go with this whole thing. But at this point of time, that's the immigration levels plan. Connect with us on social media platforms. We are there everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you want us to connect, we are there. And of course, we are licensed immigration consultants. If you are looking to hire an immigration consultant, please do consider us. Support at askkubeir.com. You can drop us an email if you wish to hire a consultant. We'll be very happy to help you with your application. You're pretty much of an expert as far as PFLs, etc. concerned. We pretty much see 1 to 2 PFLs every single day, have seen almost all kinds of PFLs by now. And if you wish to book an appointment for consultation, then please use this link, askkubeir.com/appointment. By all means, we can discuss your application issues, perhaps in a much more detailed manner. But if you're looking to ask me about your pathways or chances, please don't book. And the reason why I'm saying please don't book is because in most cases, you already know what your pathways are. I can't give you any hidden pathways. I don't have any hidden pathways. If there was, I'll be the first person out on the video making one and telling you what those pathways are. So if you feel that by booking a consultation, I will be able to give you something which nobody can tell you, it's not going to happen. I don't have any inside information. So if you want to strategize, if you want to brainstorm, by all means, book a consultation. But if you're just thinking that by paying for my 20 minutes, you would be able to get a secret pathway, secret door, I'm telling you now, won't happen. And you'll be disappointed. Yeah, and I'll be disappointed with myself. So please, let's both save ourselves disappointments, okay? Of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I want to see those numbers going up. Of course, that's how it can. And what else have we got? We got questions. We'll take tons of questions. As of right now, it is now 11:30. 11:30 already. Time moves fast. We will do questions as many as we can before I scoot off. Let's see. No controversial questions. I was thinking there could be few we can discuss something about. No. We will just go with the mundane, boring questions as usual. Okay, yeah, talk about this one. What about SUV? SUV stands for Startup Visa. In my opinion, Startup Visa is pretty much dead. And the reason I feel that Startup Visa is pretty much dead is because if you are a person who is now making an application, then the processing times are 35, 40 years, number one. Number two, if you are a person who's already made an application, are sitting in the processing queue, it all depends when did you submit. Who is your designated organization? If you have a venture capitalist or an angel investor, then depending on your business plan and depending on what organization is supporting you or who's giving you a letter of support, you may go through a priority processing. But if you are one of those who got your letter of support from an incubator, I don't want to be saying it, but this could be trouble. Because Bill C-12, eventually I expect for it to get passed, and Bill C-12 is going to give immense powers to IRCC to completely cancel applications. And I think a lot of people will see their applications getting cancelled. And Startup Visa probably might be a very top on their list of cancellation of applications. This was also one of the most abused, manipulated, defrauded streams. People obviously are not looking to set up businesses in Canada. In Dubai, they have just paid $55,000 each to so many of these agents. made some fake business and have just submitted their applications in groups. So I think all of them are in for a root shock. That's what I think about it. But let's see how things roll on this one. What else have we got? Do you think Ontario Masters graduate stream will continue? I think it will. I don't see it not continuing. Hopefully, and human capital priorities as well, and human capital priorities also. I think that should also continue. I mean, I don't see anything. I mean, at least there is nothing from Ontario for it to have stopped. So I personally feel that this should continue, and they will have a good chance next year, or probably when I'm saying next year, I mean 2026, because their quotas have been reinstated. But I think Ontario has to play a balancing game. They have got a lot of applications that are already in process in Ontario. They have to give them some sort of some relief there as well. And at the same point of time, I think they will be itching to get on with the new invitations as well. Because they haven't invited anybody under the master stream or human capital priority stream. So we'll have to wait and see how they roll this one out as well. Okay, I pray the education category will continue till tomorrow. What are we to say on this one? Looking forward to H1B accelerated pathway. Yes, absolutely. Why not? Of course, we should all look forward to all these pathways that are coming through. They will all bring relief for so many of you out there. Right, let's look at these super chats. Ontario Human Capital Stream approved, AOR received, Bridge Open Work Permit approved, and lists location as Ontario only. Okay. Spouses says unknown. Can I work in BC until PR approval, or must I move to Ontario immediately? Well, technically, you are on an open work permit. And as long as you are on an open work permit, because you are on a human capital priority stream, you can move to Ontario later on. However, if IRCC is aware that your current location is BC, and you haven't yet moved to Ontario because you haven't updated them, they can send you a procedural fairness letter stating that they don't think you want to move to Ontario. And that could be trouble. So if I was you, and if I intend to move to Ontario anyways, I would be trying to do it proactively rather than waiting for IRCC to ask. So you can work in BC; it's an open work permit. But at the same point of time, if I was you, I would start planning to move to Ontario. Any chances for Ontario Masters graduate stream? Well, I don't think the stream is dead. I personally feel the stream is alive as of right now. There is nothing from Ontario, and I'm sure whenever they do announce the death of any stream, they will be saying it. I have a feeling Masters graduate stream might also come with some caveat, because there are so many people who are eligible under the Masters graduate stream. I have a feeling they might bring out some sort of an additional factor which will bring into play some sort of a job offer role or something of that sort. I have a feeling. But let's say in its true form, in its original form, at least I expect it to continue for some time. Chances for PR pathway for AI through emerging tech. I don't know. There is no way of saying when they have said emerging tech, what specifically do they mean? They haven't really specified anything. Are they talking about AI when they're talking about emerging tech? Are they referring to specific scientific researchers or scientists that they're referring to? I don't know. At this point of time, your guess is as good as mine. I'm a full-time restaurant manager and I put spouse's open work permit file on that. Legally, can I do another full-time job because I have another job offer from livestock labor and they support PNP? From restaurant manager to livestock labor, can you do another job? Well, technically, you are on an open work permit. If you are on an open work permit, you can do as many jobs as you physically can. There is no problem with that. After ITA, is it okay if I skip the part-time dates I worked while studying in certificate for PR invitation? Why will you skip? You mention those in your personal history. Don't skip. Always maintain full disclosure in your PR application. IRCC is in a very dangerous mood nowadays. You don't want to mess around with them at all for anything at all. So don't skip anything. Your part-time work experiences, please mention them in your personal history section so that they are included there. Can we travel abroad after PR application submission if work permit valid? Absolutely, you can. There is nothing that restricts you. If you have a valid TRV to return back to Canada, by all means, travel the world. You deserve it. You've been so stressed all this while, so you absolutely can travel, no problem. Nominated by Saskatchewan, child turning 2022 on 24th of November. PCC takes 3 months from Vietnam. Can I submit my file and add PCC later to non-express entry file? If yes, how? Oh boy. I would love to say yes directly to this question, Gurvinder, but it's going to be at the discretion of IRCC. Your child should not be 22 at the time you submit your PR application. So going with that, you may submit your application. If your PCC takes longer, add a very detailed explanation, add proof that you've applied for PCC, and then you apply. It's going to be at the discretion of the officer, because in express entry, there is a limit of 60 days to submit your application. So if you're submitting your application with the applied PCC, which you haven't got a PCC yet, it is understandable. But with the non-express entry, you have 6 months to apply for your PR application. And that 6 months is a good time to prepare your application. So they may or may not be willing to give you that leeway. But if you are able to explain about your child turning 22 and that you wanted to include him, therefore you were under immense pressure to submit the application on time, but you don't have your PCC and you've already applied for it, it's taking a long time, and it probably will go beyond the time of your nomination validity, then provide all those factors, explain everything upfront, and I wish you all the best. Working in STEM, work permit expires in June, score 522, waiting for CEC, any hope? Well, I would certainly be hopeful. I mean, as I said, the quotas are refreshed, and hoping that IRCC now goes back to start conducting the draws again. 2025 saw a lot of gaps in the draws, right? You all know that. They did not invite people in CECs when they stopped because of the LMIA points removal in March. After that, again, then they stopped for a very long period of time because of some technical glitches. So, and now then they stopped when they were conducting back-to-back category draws. So there have been a lot of pauses as far as CEC draws is concerned. I'm hoping with the onset of the new year, they would not have any reasons to stop the draws, and you should see more draws happening and hopefully getting invited. Got Ontario nomination in ISS. We are a family of 3. Do we need to show 23,000 funds in non-express entry? Someone said if you have job, you don't need to show funds. Good question. As far as non-express entry PR application is concerned, it is your responsibility to show that you will be able to economically establish yourself in the province, economically. Now that comes by way of your job or by way of funds. What you can do is you can show as a letter of explanation that you have a job, this is your salary, this is how long you're working for, and this is your annual income, and it meets the LICO, low income cutoff amount. That should be sufficient. God forbid if your job is up or down, or if that salary that you are drawing is not enough for your family size, then you should supplement it by showing additional proof of funds. If you were, for example, from a stream, for example, Ontario Master's Graduate Stream, where there is no requirement for a job, in such cases, you should show proof of funds. So in your case, I would show some funds in your account, whatever you might have, and supplement it with your employment letter, so you can show that you can settle in the province with economically. That's not a problem. Apply for study permit inside Canada. Can I work full-time? You can study full-time only after you have started studying while you are on a study permit, not before that. Oh, sorry, not full-time, you can't study. Full-time, you can't work anyways. You'll be working 24 hours per week. So yeah. And if you are in between 2 programs, means you've already studied, you were in compliance with the study permit conditions, now you have your schedule break, or you have applied for a new program, then you may work full-time. If I get PR, will I be able to sponsor spouse who is on a refugee status here? What are the consequences of marrying? If he gets, can he sponsor me? If I get PR, I will sponsor a spouse who's on a refugee status. What are the consequences of marrying? No, there are no consequences of marrying. Marrying is a good, happy celebration. So yes, if you get PR and then you get married, you can sponsor a person who has made a refugee claim. They can withdraw their refugee claim and then you can sponsor them. And if your partner gets an approval of PR and then you get married, then they can sponsor you as well. Yes, not a problem. When you expect next year, which month, early next year at highly possible, please explain in depth. I can't explain in depth because I don't know which month. I mean, if I had this kind of an inside information, oh boy, what would I be doing with all that information? No, I have no idea. In depth, definitely don't have it in depth. It all depends on IRCC, when they will be conducting draws, how many invitations they will be issuing, how frequently they will be issuing. 525 is very high possibility. Probably 2 draws of good size, you should be through. Chances of 510 next year, yeah, chances are good if they continue with the draws and then they are regular with the draws. Work permit expired, low wage LMIA and work permit extension filed on applied status, LMIA approval chances after work permit refusal. I'm not sure what you're trying to ask me. You're asking me about the LMIA approval chances or a work permit refusal chances? Well, by the time they process your work permit, if you don't have the LMIA, then they will refuse your work permit. And as far as the LMIA approval is concerned, that depends entirely on your employer, depends on your work, the knock code, depends on your location, depends on what all effort has your employer taken in order to apply for the LMIA, as in the recruitment efforts. So many unknowns over here. When does CEC work experience start to count for CRS? If I began working in Ontario in Jan 15, on what date will I become eligible for CEC under Express Entry? I don't know what that question means, but you are eligible once you have completed your 1 year of Canadian work experience, and you should have gained that work experience on valid work authorization. Means if you have applied for postgraduate work permit and you start working, then you are on a valid work authorization. And you can count from the day you start working after you applied for your postgraduate work permit. It counts. When you complete 1 year of work experience, then you are eligible in Canadian experience class. Medical done in 2021 for study permit, and since then living in Canada, I received an ITA. Should I do my medicals again or submit the old one? Well, IRCC has provided exemptions for medical, and they have very clearly said that if you have completed your medicals anywhere from the world, doesn't matter where you completed your medicals, but you are now in Canada and you have completed your medicals within the last 5 years, then you may use the same medicals for your PR or TR application. And if IRCC will need a new one, they will ask you for one. Okay. Work permit refused, submitted without IELTS in 90 days of study permit. Refusal letter says eligible for restoration. Can I restore and reapply postgraduate work permit with IELTS? Yes, you can. If you have completed your studies within the last 180 days, then you most certainly can restore your status and apply for a work permit again. For CEC, will interact transfer from CEO instead of direct deposit be acceptable as proof of salary along with pay stubs? Yes, absolutely. It's acceptable. There is no problem with that. Interact transfers is absolutely fine as long as you can prove that it was coming for your salary. In such cases, most important will be your T4s, because that would also establish whether proper submissions were being made to CRA for your tax deductions. You said we are in FY, I don't know, financial year. Why will you see financial year? 2026, why no large CEC draws yet? With FY26 PR targets announced, will big draws start soon or only from Jan? Well, I already said that earlier, that I don't see any reason why IRCC is not conducting regular draws. It is not, I mean, it's scientific, it's mathematics, right? Because whoever is getting invitations now will only become PR next year. And if they're becoming PR next year, they always obviously count towards the quotas and targets of next year. It is not something illogical. Having said that, I have a feeling the reason why IRCC was not conducting the draws all this while is because the quotas were not finalized or were not announced, and they didn't want to conduct big draws and then carry over the inventory to the next year. That is what I'm thinking, but I would have never gotten any idea, or I don't have any idea as to what IRCC is really thinking as to why they're not conducting the draws. Their draws, only they know better. They have a better understanding and the calculation as to how many people they wanted to invite. Also bear in mind, for 2025, they did move a lot of slots from in Canada focus to PNPs. That left very small number of people that they could convert as PR for 2025 under in Canada focus. That could have also been a number that influenced the decision. However, I don't see any reason why IRCC should not or would not conduct a draw of a regular size now. They could always choose to wait for 2026 and give you that illusion that this is relation to the new immigration levels plan, or they could conduct now. Very difficult to say or speculate on this matter. Can I change employer after getting Alberta opportunity stream applied for PR already? No, you should not. If you're changing your employer, it become problem. Your Alberta opportunity stream nomination is employer driven. It was given to you because of your employer. If you're changing your employer, you'll have to inform Alberta. The new employer also has to be considered as eligible. The new employer will have to provide you a documentation, and then they may change your nomination. So it's a big risk. What does IRCC mean by continuous work experience in FSW and category B? I don't know what is category B draws. What if I need to take an approved vacation during 5th month of our job for a month due to health issues? Tricky. When we say continued work experience, it means no break in your work experience, and any kind of leave that you take during your period of work can be considered as a break in your work experience, even if you are paid for it. For example, if you are working for 1 year and within that 1 year you have taken a maternity leave, if you take maternity leave, it is considered as break in employment. Therefore, it won't be considered as continuous. So continuous basically means you are working in the same occupation continuously. Could be for multiple employers. If you change jobs, there could be a gap of 3, 4, 5 days, week, what might be required to transition into a new role, but that's pretty much it. Or it goes into the discretion side of things. But that is what the continuous means. It's same occupation. You continue working for 12 months, 365 days, 52 weeks, 1560 hours. And if you are not working for health reasons or for maternity leave or similar of that sort and not getting paid also, then definitely that's considered as a break in your employment. 10 months left in work permit expiry. Am I eligible for bridge open work permit? Yes, if you have already applied for PR, received your AOR, then you are eligible for bridge open work permit. Of course, I hope there are no conditions on your nomination if you are a nominee. I am waiting for my closed work permit. Meanwhile, my postgraduate work permit has expired. If my closed work permit gets declined, how much time I have to leave Canada? Well, it all depends. You may have 90 days period for restoration. During that 90 days, you can apply for restoration or you can leave Canada. But if you're leaving Canada, you must leave Canada as soon as possible. There are no specific number of days that have been designated. It doesn't say you can continue to live in Canada for 90 days and leave at the end of 90 days because this is your restoration period. Restoration period is often misunderstood as a grace period given to you to live in Canada. That's not true at all. So if you choose to continue living in Canada, then you must apply for restoration of status. You can apply for change of status to a visitor, or if you're eligible to work for a work permit. Otherwise, if your work permit is refused, then you should be ready and prepared to leave the country. Can I travel to US after getting ECOPR as my family is there and I have my friend in Canada? Ship me the PR card. Does IRCC delay issuing ECOPR every year this time like P2 from October? So there is no precedence and saying that they will always delay ECOPRs this time. Last year they were doing it because they had a lot of inventory to complete and they were trying to meet their PR targets in time, or they're balancing it out. That's why the delays were there. I can't tell you this year how their quotas are looking like of having met their PR targets. So, but I don't expect them to be conducting any more delays. And we are seeing pretty much people getting their ACOPRs a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks at most as of right now. Can you travel to US? Yes, you can travel to US. If you have a US visa, valid passport, you can travel to US. On returning back from the US to Canada, either you will have your PR card, which your friend can bring for you, or you may travel across the land border by showing the Canadian authorities your ECOPR and one other proof of identity, and you're absolutely fine. You don't need to have a PR card when crossing the land border to Canada. But you should be traveling on a private vehicle, not on a commercial bus, train, or aeroplane. Postgraduate work permit implied status, wife's open work permit expiring soon. Shall I apply for a visitor record or spouse work permit or work permit extension without e-profile? Bridge open work permit works for us. I'm not really sure what you're trying to ask me. Well, If you are eligible for a spouse open work permit, you apply for spouse open work permit. If you're not eligible, then how are you going to apply? Dummy extensions, I'm not recommending at this point of time. You could be considered in non-compliance of IRPA at this point of time, so avoid that. Otherwise, if you are just looking to maintain status, then apply for a visitor record. I'm a PR. My spouse is in Canada on a visitor record after inland spousal PR application. Can I apply for TRV plus open work permit immediately? How long it takes? So you can't apply for a TRV for a person who's inside Canada unless they already have a valid work or study status. So you can definitely apply for an open work permit for your spouse after you get your AOR for the spousal sponsorship. Once the work permit is approved, then you can apply for TRV. Otherwise, you can't. The TRV will get cancelled otherwise. Can I quit job after submitting PR application? Absolutely, you can if you are applying in express entry, because that is primarily meant for work permit. That is predominantly meant for your work experience that you've already gained. Now, if you're applying through PNP, then don't quit your job, because your PNP could have been employer driven and there could be a link to that. So therefore, be careful if you're choosing to quit your job. Work permit expiring in December. If no ITA by then, can I apply bridge open work permit and add AOR as web form later if ITA comes in Jan? If not, any other options? Well, what you're trying to suggest here, Nick, is called dummy extension. Do it at your own risk. I've seen a lot of people getting approved by doing what you're trying to do, to be very honest. Yeah, proceed at your own risk in the sense of dummy extensions. There is a lot of hullabaloo right now about that. There's a lot of talk about it as of right now, though I haven't seen anybody getting into problem because of it right now. I have to be very honest. I haven't seen anybody. A lot of people talk about it on Reddits and on platforms, and they make a big, you can't do that, you dismiss representation, all kinds of rubbish. But there is nothing specific in the law which says you can't do it. And if you're doing it, provide a detailed explanation, provide why you're doing it and what you intend to do with it. And be prepared if you get a refusal. If you get a refusal, you will then have to apply for restoration, then apply for bridge. But I haven't seen anybody getting any negative backlash because of this. Score of 496 under trade category, any chance? Well, if they do conduct a draw, then yes, it's a good chance. I have already applied for AIP. I'm also eligible for PNP. Do you think I should apply for this as well, as AIP has high processing times? Well, if you are eligible, if your employer is supporting you and you think you can get nomination, then by all means you can, certainly. If you're in a province of Nova Scotia, then you might not be eligible for 12 months after you get your AIP. So please be careful. Please make sure you confirm whether you are eligible to get PNP or not before you spend money. Am I eligible for Ontario skilled trade draw even if I go back to India as work permit expiring this month, or do I need to maintain status within Canada to be eligible? I think for skilled trade draw, I don't remember. I think you need to be on a valid work permit status. I think. Let's check. Last I checked, I don't remember, because all these streams, they have so many different options at all points of time. Yes, you need to be in Canada, brother. Let's see. Why can I not add this? There you go. This is the Ontario Skill Trade stream, and it is very, very clear. You must be living in Ontario and hold a valid work permit at the time you apply. There you go. Always, when you need information, something of this sort, the questions that you have, you will always find it on the official website. Always refer to that. 28th October ITA dummy from 23rd October. Should I withdraw and reapply? Bank statements should I include in CEC experience? Well, you've already lost your status. If you will withdraw, you will lose your status. If you've already submitted your application, then you get your AOR and send it to IRCC through the web form. And as far as CEC bank statements, it's not required as long as you provide your pay stubs, T4s, employment reference letters. Bank statements are not required for a CEC work experience. If you wish to provide, by all means do. I own a business in Muskoka. Any pathway for PR? I'm on a work permit implied status. Unfortunately, not. Ownership of business does not give you any business, any PR pathways at all. Look for employment opportunities if you can, and then look at PNP options. But owning a business does not give you any options, unfortunately. Visitor record after open work permit expiry. Can I apply for TRV? No, unfortunately, you cannot. You cannot apply for TRV from inside Canada unless you have a work or study status. I am a pharmacy assistant. Do I need full-time position or just full-time hours would be enough for express entry and PNP? Full-time hours is what you're looking for. That is by itself uh, the check mark that they're looking for in terms to establish full-time employment. But if you're applying for PNP and you need a job offer, then the job offer should very categorically state it's a full-time permanent job offer. So very different, two different things. You should be aware of which stream you're looking to go into. My work permit getting expired in Jan. I am thinking to apply for dummy extension. Will that affect my PR application if I've received an ITA? And while on my implied status, I work in New Brunswick in a skilled trade. Am I eligible for that program? I'm not sure which program you're talking about in skilled trade stream, if you're eligible or not that. But as far as dummy is concerned, apply at your own risk, of course. And I haven't seen, as I was just saying earlier, I haven't seen anybody getting anything negative as in a backlash for your PR application. And as long as you add a very detailed letter of explanation as to why you are doing it, always maintain clarity to the officer. That should save you. Now, as far as the work permit, as in a skilled worker, skilled trade is concerned in New Brunswick, I'm not sure which stream you are referring to. And to be very honest, I don't remember the exact criteria on top of my head. It's not technically possible. You can always check the application guide from the province to see if you are eligible or not. If in Canada, when I got PPR, what can be done? Raise a web form, inform IRCC that you have your PPR and request for virtual landing. Completed masters from Queens, waiting work permit with a STEM job in Ontario, no foreign Canadian experience. Should I move to rural Ontario? Very difficult to guide you with your pathways on a very short comment that I can make right now. Yes, look at different pathways. Either move to, now the thing is, if you don't have any other work experience, you will most certainly need uh, employer support. So whether you move to RCIP communities, whether you move to Northern Ontario, you will need an employer who is going to support you in PNP. Now, if you have a STEM job, depends on what kind of a STEM job you are doing, because STEM often is mistaken as only IT job. Now, not necessarily an IT. If you're an engineer, depends on where you're working. Speak to your employer, see if they're willing to support you. International student stream is a good stream to go with. Otherwise, if you're going into the RCIP stream, then check the RCIP eligibility and move there. Sister got COPR. When can I claim 15 points? Well, if your sister has COPR, then you can immediately claim 15 points if your sister is living in Canada. Do you think express entry healthcare drop points will go down? Very difficult to say. Now there is going to be a big gap in the draws, when there'll be a big gap, depending on how many invitations. And I'm assuming as we go into 2026, they will start with small draws. So initially, the scores might actually go up and not down. But it will always depend on the number of invitations and how frequently they conduct the draws. So, for example, if they choose to invite 5,000 people, for sure the scores are going to go down. But if they choose to invite only 1,000 people, for sure the scores will go up. So that's how it will always, it's always on a sliding scale. Spouse open work permit valid till 5th December, applied TRV, but got W1 worker. W1 worker is absolutely fine. That is also a TRV, and your spouse can travel in and out of Canada with that visa. CEC Inland AOR final decision on October 8. All stages are completed. Since then, no update. Any way to get attention or web form or Kai? Kai is a stupid method that stupid people have designed. I do not know why they even did that. That is simply you flooding the IRCC email channels by unnecessarily telling them to, expedite your application, which I absolutely abhor and don't recommend at all. You are creating backlogs, you are unnecessarily creating jams, and you are creating delays for other people. So imagine if everybody else did Kai and then you get stuck because everybody else is doing Kai. So I don't recommend. The point is to have patience and to wait. Whenever your processing time is done, you would get. I mean, IRCC doesn't enjoy holding back your individual decision just because they have some sort of sadistic pleasure out of it. So just wait it out. You will get through. You've already shown so much of resilience, and you got your AOR in August, right? I mean, what are you? How express do you want this express entry to be? I understand the impatience, but just little while ago. I mean, just little while more, and then you will be through. Applied for my postgraduate work permit on May, and it's still in process. My husband is on a visitor record. Can he apply for spousal open work permit now, or should we wait until my postgraduate work permit is approved? Both options are open. If you will apply now, your work permit may not be connected. And if they are not connected and his spouse open work permit gets processed first, it will be refused because there is no corresponding postgraduate work permit. Otherwise, you can choose to wait. So either which ways, it's your decision. If you want, you can apply now, or you can wait. IRCC changes eligible knock codes for CEC. IRCC is not changing eligible knock code for CEC. CEC doesn't have any knock codes. It's always tier 0, 1, 2, 3, all knock codes. So, so I'm not sure what you mean by. If you're talking about category draws, for that we will have to wait and see. But as far as eligible knock codes for CEC are concerned, they are not changing. Consult used store manager with supervisor rate in LMIA, refused with employer, did not make recruitment efforts and wrong wage. Can apply again with correct title. Yes, you can apply again. Absolutely. If your previous application was wrong, absolutely reapply. Thank you so much for your guidance. I am 37 in Canada on a spouse open work permit with a score of 422. I can raise it via CELPIP and may pursue a master's while working. Started French. That is awesome. French will take you through. I mean, this is a great option always. It'll take a lot of effort, but it's a good option to go for. What is the average super visa timeline from India? Please share your recent approvals. When should I apply? The current timelines from India for super visa is roughly 6 months right now. That's what we are seeing with the recent approvals. Started work in November 23. 1 month remote work abroad, 1 month paid leave, removed 2 months Canadian experience for transparency. Will 2-year Canadian experience complete in Jan 2026? I would assume so. You can count yourself instead of making me do the hard work of trying to calculate your work experience. As long as you have completed 36 months of actually working in Canada and being paid for it, then you count that as 3 years of work experience. Chances for 2002 in leadership pathway. I don't think so. 20012 will not form part of the leadership pathway. You're looking at 000 knock codes. So 00012, 00013, 00014, 0015, 0016. Those knock codes are considered as senior managers. 200 knock codes are not considered as senior managers. Can I travel to Ireland? I'm on work permit, implied status. I have visitor visa. Yes, you can. And then depending on which work permit implied status you are on, when you return back to Canada, you may be treated as visitor and you will no longer have your implied status. If you are a postgraduate work permit implied status, so when you do return back to Canada, you can continue working. But if you are on a work permit implied status of any other work permit type, then the minute you leave Canada, you will lose your implied status. And when you return back, you will be a visitor. You can no longer work until you get your approval. Sorry for confusion. I am on postgraduate work permit implied. My job is tier 2. My wife's open work permit will expire soon. Shall I apply for her visitor record or spouse open work permit or work permit extension? I am on a postgraduate implied status. My wife's open work permit. Well, you can, again, as I said earlier, if you choose to apply for your wife's open work permit or work permit extension, whatever you call it, he or she, I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, your wife will be she will be on an she will be on an implied status or maintained status and can continue working. But if your wife's work permit application is processed first and your postgraduate hasn't been processed, then they will refuse her application. At that point of time, you will have to apply for restoration and then reapply, but that's what you can do. Can you get an ATIP note for studying under 6 months eligibility on open work permit? IRCC says it's eligible, but shouldn't be on implied status. Please clarify. I have no idea what you're asking me. You can apply for ATIP notes for any application that you have made with IRCC, if that's what you're asking. I'm not able to understand what you're talking about. Shouldn't be on implied status. It's eligible 6 months. I don't understand that. But by all means, if you're looking to apply for ATIP notes, you can do that. Go on to the ATIP website and you will be able to make an application. Is it okay to apply for NSMP nomination around Christmas because of vacation time and end of the year? Absolutely. If you are eligible, by all means apply. Please don't hold back. Just because it's Christmas doesn't mean that everybody will be closed down for 10, 15, 20 days. It doesn't work like that. There are specific public holidays, and for the rest of the day, people are still working. They are in the offices. So please, if you're eligible, please don't hold back and go ahead and apply. And there is nothing here. Today's been a long one. Thank you so much for connecting with me. I appreciate that. And we shall do it again whenever next time we meet. Until then, please stay forever hopeful, and I shall see you next time. Take care.